Actually, I think you already touched on this, but I was wondering if you have anything to add on how this phenomenon would impact our future generations, and where do you see the future of media convergence going in terms of technology or anything?
Um, I you always have to be careful when you're trying to think about the future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that before the World Wide Web came upon us, I think if you had said that there was going to be this place called Amazon that actually delivered hard copies of books to your house, everyone would
Right.
have laughed at you because that seemed so sort of ridiculous that would have been a
Right.
successful business model.
Or
And in
eBay.
fact, we would have thought, oh no, everything's going to be electronic, and we're going to look at it on our little, computer screens. But obviously, that's not quite the way it played out. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that obviously we're moving more and more towards wireless. Social networking is kind of the biggest thing going on right now,
Right.
and social networking is really quite fascinating. I mean, there are parts to it that seem completely banal and pedestrian and an absolute waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if somebody throws a virtual snowball at me again, I think I'm just going to be sick,
Right.
But beyond that, though, if we're going to talk about the next generation, I think it might be also interesting to talk about this generation,
Mm-hmm.
because say my generation that has sort of grown up with all these things, and as we get older, like when we first started college, when I started college, there was no email. I'm sure there was at a few places, but it wasn't pervasive. And then all of a sudden, while I was in college, everyone had to go sign up for an email account, and we all did, but we weren't really using email at that point. It took years before we actually started to use the technology. And same thing with the web, or with Facebook, or cell phones, or iPods, or all of these things. But in a way, when we see, like I mentioned, these virtual snowballs or
Mm-hmm.
whatever on Facebook, or whatever, being a fan of people falling down the stairs or whatever. I
Right.
think that there's it's almost like an industry of distraction, of like it seems to have institutionalized attention deficit disorder.
Okay.
And I think it's happening for both generations. I think we always concentrate on your generation or younger generations and say, oh my God, these poor kids, they're awful, they can't concentrate and this sort of thing. But, something else is happening too, that this younger generation tends to be much more civic-minded, and they seem to have much more interest in volunteering and that sort of thing. So I don't think it's so easy to just say, oh, well, they just don't get it. They can't have a concentrated thought for more than a couple of seconds at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's happening for everyone, and I think it'll start to get to a point where it'll become an addiction, and we already see that to where internet use. It's almost like a fetish, really. I read an article about this, about
Mm-hmm.
click fetishes, and whether that's on your cell phone or whatever, how people really have this sort of need to be sort of tuned in all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
And it's kind of amazing, really, when you think about it, and you look around and you see people with their little earbuds in their ears, like when I go to the gym or when I'm jogging. Everyone has these earbuds in their ears, or they're looking at their cell phone as they're walking across campus and clicking buttons, and I mean, there is something to that. And I guess the old curmudgeon in me would say, oh, but can't we all just have a human interaction with one another, or enjoy nature or something? But I think maybe that's too simple of an approach. I think there's something bigger going on here. And maybe if we don't moralize what it is that's happening, and in terms of saying, oh, well, it used to be good and now it's bad, but rather just look at it as an actual evolution of the human condition, then maybe we can actually sort of get to the bottom of what the best attributes of it are and sort of try to bring those out as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of my opinion on it. I know that's probably not such a popular opinion with these kind of things.
Oh no, I'm actually really guilty of the one who's walking across campus and pull out my iPhone all the time to check my email or go online. It definitely contributes to the ADD.
Yeah, no, yeah, I do too. I mean, or at least with email, I mean, my wife and I will be doing yoga, and I'm like going over to check my email in the middle of a sun salutation or something.